A couple of weeks ago, I bought this, an iPhone 11 Pro. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Luke, you absolute idiot. Don't you know that you're not supposed to buy an iPhone 2 months before the next generation comes out? What are you, stupid? Well, yes, I am, but not in this case. Well, the real reason that I bought the 11 Pro was so that I could have a point of comparison when the iPhone 12 does come out, because for the most part, people watching tech videos do want to see what is new compared to the last version of iPhone. But that's where it gets interesting, because I don't think most people are upgrading from an iPhone 11 series to an iPhone 12 series. That's a very, very tiny proportion of people, maybe on the Apple upgrade program, maybe they're just like tech YouTubers, or they're just super loaded. So that doesn't make up a large proportion of the people that are going to be buying the iPhone 12. Most of the customers for this year's iPhone 12 are going to be people like me. I had a XS Max, which I bought back at launch in 2018. So this is a 2-year upgrade for me. There's also a lot of people with, an iPhone 10 who are going, battery life's not so great, my phone's getting a little older, let's see what this year has to offer. But the more I look at the rumors and the leaks for this year's iPhone 12, the more I wonder, maybe, just maybe, some of those people should buy an iPhone 11 Pro instead. What the heck am I talking about? Why would I recommend buying an iPhone 11 Pro a month before the iPhone 12 comes out? Am I insane? What is going on? Well, hear me out. With the ever-increasing price of iPhones, people are definitely willing to hold on to them for longer. Most people aren't buying on a 2-year upgrade where after 2 years it makes more sense to upgrade than to keep their phone. Most people are buying them outright. And so you want to maximize your value. You want to buy a phone when you're going to notice a difference. And that doesn't necessarily mean new features. Because let us be perfectly honest. Aesthetics, the look of a phone, is probably just as important as the functionality of the phone, whether you admit it or not. I guarantee there's a lot of people out there for whom an iPhone SE would be more than enough. But a lot of people aren't interested in that because, quite frankly, it's not exciting. It doesn't look like anything special. It's just an iPhone 8 with the guts of an 11 Pro in it. Big whoop. A fresh new design is important, even if it doesn't have any bearing on the usefulness of the phone. Why do you think Apple put a frosted back on the iPhone 11 Pro? What use is this frosted back? Does it make the glass more durable? No. Is it better for conducting wireless charging? No. It feels nice, it looks nice, but it doesn't have any functional benefit. So it's very obvious that changing the look of the phone is important to changing people's perception of the phone. So that's definitely going to be a factor here because this, regardless of your opinion on iPhone 12, this is the biggest design change that we've seen in, pretty much 3 years. If you look at the front of an iPhone 11 Pro, you can't tell whether you're looking at an iPhone 10 from 2017 or an 11 Pro from 2019. So in that regard, you cannot deny that the iPhone 12 is going to be new. But does that necessarily mean that it's going to be functionally better? What exactly is going to change going from, say, an iPhone 11 Pro to an iPhone 12 Pro? The iPhone 11 Pro has a 5.8-inch display. The 12 Pro will have a 6.1-inch. Both of those are going to be OLED. Both of those are going to be 60 Hertz. They're going to have the same size notch, although the iPhone 12 Pro will have a proportionately smaller notch because the notch is staying the same size, and then the screen is going to be a little bit bigger. It'll probably also have thinner bezels, which will look better, no doubt. It'll have 128 gigabytes to start instead of 64. Not gonna lie, fully honest right here, 64 gigabytes is the only thing that I don't like about this phone. It's a great phone, but the fact that it starts at 64 gigabytes is just laughable. Besides that, it's gonna have slightly better cameras, 4K 240 FPS slow motion, 12 megapixel wide, ultra wide and telephoto. It'll have LiDAR, it'll have 5G, that's definitely nice for some people. And crucially on the inside, it'll have the A14, which is going to be a lot more powerful, hopefully will deliver us better battery life. So definitely some incremental improvements. But here's the thing that I keep thinking about using the iPhone 11 Pro. Do you need that? How often do I use 4K slow motion? Not that often. Do I really need extra battery life? I'm going to be perfectly honest. I know this sounds so counter to what you hear when talking about tech. I don't need more performance. I don't need more battery life. I can go 2 days on this phone pretty easily. I can charge it, take it off at 9 a.m. on Saturday, and not charge it until Monday. That's totally doable. And there's never a time using the iPhone 11 or the iPhone SE or even the iPhone XS, which is an older A12 processor. There is never a time where I use those phones and I think, man, this phone's a little slow. That does not happen. And augmented reality, it's cool. It's a neat idea. LiDAR is definitely a cool sensor, and I'm looking forward to Apple Glass, but on the iPhone, the only times I use AR are to look at the September 15th Apple event invite and to put the 2019 Mac Pro on my desk and wish that I had it in real life. That's not going to make much of a difference to me. The performance is not going to make much of a difference. The battery life is not going to make much of a difference. The camera adjustments, for some people, those might be noticeable, but for me, probably not that much of a difference. So at that point, we're left with, it's going to look better, and it's going to have a slightly bigger display. Not a higher refresh display, not a notchless display, just a little bit bigger. So is that worth it? Now at this point, I think it's important to clarify that I did not pay $1,000 for the iPhone 11 Pro. If it was an apples to apples comparison, like $1,000 for an 11 Pro, $1,000 for a 12 Pro, that's a pretty obvious choice. You're going to get a new design, larger display, all that stuff. Even if it's minor, even if it's not a huge difference, if it's the same price, you'd have to be a fool not to take the better option. However, I did not pay $1,000 for the iPhone 11 Pro. I bought this thing Amazon renewed, so it was $800, and it's functionally brand new. Like, it looks perfect. There's not a scratch on it. The battery's at 100% capacity. It's basically indistinguishable from a new phone. It was probably just a phone that someone had for a couple of months, kept in a case with a screen protector on, and then decided that they wanted the Pro Max or something. But realistically, at $800, then it starts to get interesting. That's what this phone cost back in August. Nowadays, they're dropping down a little bit, like $775 sometimes, and I'm assuming that by the time the iPhone 12 comes out, they'll drop down closer to $700. So at that point, you have to wonder, if I'm going to be upgrading from, let's say I have an iPhone 8 Plus or an iPhone 10, and I'm interested in buying a new iPhone, not necessarily the newest iPhone, but I just want to buy a better iPhone. If I'm trying to maximize my value, and I'm looking at iPhone 12 Pro at $1,000 or this at $700, even $800, I'm starting to think to myself, is it worth $200 to add 4K 240 FPS, larger display, new design? Is that going to be $200 more value than what I'm getting from an iPhone 11 Pro? So obviously you should wait to see what iPhone 12 brings, but don't necessarily think that you have to go for that just because it's the newest iPhone. I think the iPhone 11 Pro as a used option, as a refurbished option, is still going to be very compelling, especially when you consider that this year's iPhone isn't necessarily adding as much as we thought it would in terms of actual tangible benefits, not just the looks. Regardless of what happens with iPhone 12, I think what's really important, the big thread that I'm trying to get across in this video, is to try to avoid getting swept up in the hype or the hate. Don't get swept up in the crowd of people going, if it doesn't have 120 hertz refresh rate, it's garbage. It's the worst phone ever. It's basically unusable. And on the flip side, don't get swept up in the, ooh, the sides are squared instead of round. That means it's better. I'm gonna buy one because it looks cool. Try to find somewhere in the middle, the things that actually are important to you. Do you need better battery life than an iPhone 11 Pro, than your current phone? Do you need 128 gigabytes of storage versus 64? That, I think, is going to be a really big factor. What is actually going to make a difference? That's what you should be looking at when comparing these phones, and that's what I'll be talking about when I get the iPhone 12s in hand. So for now, don't make a decision yet. Just let this stew in your mind. We're about a month out from launch, and I'm not trying to persuade you one way or the other. I'm just trying to introduce some perspective. You may disagree, you may agree, but for now, just wait, take a breath, and let's see what happens. So that's going to do it for today's video. As usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Please consider following me on Twitter @LukeMiani, and don't forget to check out my subreddit in the description below. And with that, I will see you all in the next video.